Hello and welcome back to this course on working capital management. Now, the working capital management, we have seen the account receivable and account payable. In this section, we are going to talk about the inventory management. Inventory for any business is can be a substantial amount of working capital for hotels, for restaurants, for construction companies, for banks. The inventory is always there in one way or the other. For manufacturing, it's the highest. So how do we manage the working capital for inventory? Let's understand this with the understanding what is inventory management. The benefit of holding the inventory, as we have learned in the past, is that it helps to reduce the minimize the risk that the firm will not be able to obtain an input in case of any emergency, or avoiding the situations of stockouts. But and also the seasonality factors also mean that the purchasing may not exactly meet the most efficient production cycle. For seasonal goods, you may have to purchase in some time and then you have to stock it and then you have to use it for the future. Similar, for example, in hotel industry, you have some frozen goods which you are importing, so you have to keep them in your inventory because you cannot buy the shipment on every single day, right? You have to keep them in your inventory at some point of at least some minimum par, so that you can use it in every time. Some imported vegetables you have to use in the freezer so that you can use it even the non-season time. Some fruits, some special things, you have to keep them in the freezer, in the ready-made, in the cold storage, so that you can use them when they are required, because they are not available 24/7. So that's how you can manage. That's the benefit of, that's the reason why you need to hold the inventory. The cost of holding the inventory definitely is acquisition cost, because if you have a very and acquisition cost means how often you have to order. So you have to pay the freight charges, you have to pay the order charges, you may have you have to use the time of your purchasing department, so you may have higher manpower if you buy very frequently. If you buy if you buy big quantities and hold a large inventory, you may not need to buy every day, so you can manage with a lower number of people. But if you buy small quantity and you buy very often, you may have to pay a higher acquisition charges, means you may have to have higher labor cost, higher telephone cost and other things. So you have to understand what is your acquisition cost and the order cost. The carrying cost is usually the storage. So higher amount of storage may require you to rent the cold storage, rent the warehouse, rent the freight to put it into the stock houses. So that are the carrying cost. And then apart from it, you may have to take the insurance of the stock, because there are risk of fire, earthquake and flood, and the risk of spoilage. Then there are risks of having the inventory is, there are risk of spoilage, pillage, theft. So there are a lot of risks that you have to cover for. So there may be insurance, so that will be a part of your carrying cost. So the how you can manage it is, usually many lot of firms are using now just in time approach for cash management. When the firm is acquiring inventory precisely when they need it, so that the inventory balance is zero, that is called just in time approach. So that is one way of managing the inventory to be the lowest level. However, it requires very robust supply chain system, and you need to have a reliable source, reliable suppliers, to be able to supply you in time whenever you need it, because in case there is a slippage, you may be out of stock or your production can stop. So the benefit of cash, to summarize the benefit and cost of carrying the inventory, is that it reduces stockage, makes operations smoothly, it improves the customer relationships, and it increases the sales. The cost is invest in the funds, the storage and security of the cost, insurance cost, and taxes and shrinkage, means theft. So those are the cost, and the spoilage and the breakage. So there are the cost of maintaining the inventory at the adequate level. So in the next video, we're going to be learning how do we manage the inventory, what are the optimum levels and other things. So stay tuned.